Yeah, and welcome to Papa Stash 102. So if you're new to the channel, always make sure to click the link below. It's a free video that's not going to be on YouTube. Today is about blues soloing. It's not only about the scales used in blues soloing, but also how to see the chord shapes inside of those scales. So that helps you in turn hit those melodic notes that make the solos sound good. And you know, that's how it all starts to happen. Once you see the chords and know the proper notes to hit, man, your solos are going to sound melodic too. So check it out. Now what you saw as a little demonstration right there is another one of my favorite things to do in the world, and it's all about how to mix major and minor pentatonic and just to throw those chord shapes and blues notes in there as well. And the riffs are endless. So let me show you just a couple variations on those. All right, so check it out. The goal here is not necessarily to give you, a bunch of, totally melodic solos, but more to expose you to ways you can utilize both major and minor pentatonic together, along with, throwing some chromatic stuff in there as well, to really give you a lot more options than you may be used to, right? A lot of those cool, whether it's Clapton or Van Halen or Hendrix or Stevie Ray or, the list goes on and on and on, right? But they all seem to have a note vocabulary that is beyond just basic major or minor pentatonic. And what happens is a lot of times they're utilizing both of them together. And in that soup of, mixing the two together, the note combinations are endless. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, and I always use minor pentatonic as my framework, and then I interject major notes in there. So I would basically be using the E minor framework, but it's going to sound really majory because I'm using a lot of E major rather in there. So if I did a riff like, or even that first little bit, right? It's inside position 1 of E minor. But what we're doing is we're starting with a minor note and then we're hitting the major third of that E chord. Okay, so we got. Now instead of going to 15 on the B string from 12 to 15, I'm actually going to borrow from E major position 2, right? Everybody knows that position from E minor position 2, but since it's in major, it's actually located in that position 1 box as well. So we've borrowed already from both the major and the minor pentatonic. They share a lot of the same notes. So we got G string, 12 to 13, and then we're going to go 12 to 14. And then we're going to slide up to 17, okay, which is part of the E chord right here, or E minor, okay, which is also located right in position 2 of E minor. So we got. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to target the chord shapes, right? So I got an E major right here. And since I've kind of slid up on something that can be a minor, I mean, it is a major note as well, right? It's the E note, so it works in both E major and E minor. But what I'm going to do is take it back to a major sound, and I'm going to do the same thing we did here, an octave higher. So I'm going from the minor third to the major third, right? Because if it's the minor third, that would be our E minor chord, and if we wanted to make an E major chord, right, it's just the D shape of that chord. So we got. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from minor to major and then go back down minor position 2. Okay, so we got. And then I'm going to slide up to E major, okay? And what I'm going to do right here is position 4. But it's also right where E minor position 3 is. So E major position 4 is right there. If I want E minor position 3, it's right there. So they're really interconnected. So what we can do is a riff I really like in major, but then descend in a riff I really like in minor. So we got. Now, one of my favorite bends, and I slid up to the 18th fret, and then I went on the G string, and then I went to 17 and 19, and then I bent up, and this is on the B string, and then I catch the 19th fret of the E, and then I bend back up the B string, 19th fret. So all together we have, or sorry, now that's just an example. You can go and do riffs like that, right? So instead of just going straight down, a lot of times I'll go back to 16, or, you know, and backtrack on my notes. So this again is just a framework of ideas you can use. Now, so since we've got to now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and I'm going to bend up on the E19 a step and a half. And then I'm literally going to walk down 5 frets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chromatically. And I can do that because of how we utilize minor and major scales together, and also the blues note. And that gets us a run where we literally can walk down chromatically, and all the notes are usable. It's just which ones you land on that matter. So, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to hammer onto that major third again. Right? And then I'm going to come down in position 2 of E minor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the 15th fret and slide down to the 14th fret on the B string, and then I'm going to walk down chromatically again. So what I did there is I walked from 16, 15, 14, our trusty old minor to major third hammer on, and then you end on E, or, right? So in reality you can have, you know, and how you work with the timing of the riff and the phrasing of it also opens up a million different opportunities. So you can pace the riff a little bit more. Or, right, and then okay, so, or right, so it's endless. You know, mistakes are endless too. It happens, right? But you can phrase the same basic idea a million different ways. You just alter the timing and do all that stuff. The point of the video is not so much to give you specific riffs, but to give you ideas on how to connect major and minor together. So again, remember, I'm working out of E minor, position 1, position 2, and position 3. Okay, and what I've done is I've hyperimposed on the top of those frameworks the major pentatonic of major pentatonic position 2, which is inside of minor pentatonic position 1. Okay, and then I also put position 4 of major pentatonic over the top of position 3 minor. Okay, over the top of. And then I also work off of seeing where my chord shapes are. E here, E here. And so I know where those major thirds are. You can keep going down. And that gets you back into position 1 of major. Right? And you can just keep going. Right? Right, so it's just endless, and all I'm doing is I'm using chromatic runs. I'm using that are formed from the combination of the major, minor, and the blues note, and then I'm using the major and minor scales together, but using a minor framework and throwing in major pentatonic, because I think a lot of us are more familiar with minor to begin with. So that's kind of how I base everything off of, where it is in the minor pentatonic shape and the key that we're working in, and then I throw the major on top of it. And that just works for me. So hopefully it'll work for you too. Yes! Way to go. Awesome job. Awesome job. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for checking in. If you're new, welcome. Big cyber hug. Check out Papa Stash Pop over there too. There's another 500 videos over there, and a lot of the stuff over there is country, and unfortunately, well, unfortunately, because I like country, but you know, that's one of the only places you can hear rock guitar anymore. So there's tons of solos and stuff like that over there as well. Also, if you're an acoustic fan, it's predominantly acoustic over there. So there's a ton of stuff over there. Click the links below, or check the links below as well. There's papastash.com, which is my products. There's tons of DVDs on actually how to play guitar. So check those out as well. You guys are amazing, and don't be afraid to share the videos if you like it. Thank you so much for your continued support. We'll catch you next time.